Today's webinar is with a unique technology vendor, VecCTor, and which I'll pass in a short period of time, pass the microphone to them to start the webinar. But before we go there, I would like to thank you for being with us. I would like to thank the gentleman from VecCTor for supporting our region and for educating us today about the technologies and solutions they offer. And before we start, it's the concept and the topic we'll talk about, which is maybe you can say telemetry, cybersecurity of telemetry, control systems. We will look at all of these terminologies and we will learn them from the gentleman from VecCTor today. But the way we're addressing it today is by looking first at your physical security, the elements of your physical security. You know, that stack where we start with physical security, information security, operational security, then behavioral security. So there is elements where we bring the physical security piece in addition to the telemetry elements, IoTs, controls, and stuff like that, and the management platform that VecCTor brings in to bring all of that under one pane or in one pane of glass for easier management. We will learn a lot. I personally will learn a lot from today's session. I have no experience in it. It's just I see it the future going forward of how the telemetry and cybersecurity is emerging together. So I'm not going to take long because I know you're excited to learn from these gentlemen, the experts that we have here. So I'm going to pass it to the gentleman from VecCTor to introduce themselves. We're here for you guys as your distributor in the region to support you. So I'm here. I have my colleagues Nadir and Soman and Mohammed Shobaki, which you can refer back to. Please ask questions. Let's keep it as interactive as possible because we need to learn about this technology. And I do believe there are huge, massively awesome use cases for your customers in utility and construction and healthcare and multiple systems, government and everything. So please ask questions. You can ask questions in the Q&A section, or you want to have them in the chat. We will stop the speaker from time to time to answer those questions to keep it interactive. To you guys, Dominique and gentlemen, start your introducing yourself and please go ahead with your webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Maud. As Dominic is my superior and our CEO, I think it's his turn to introduce himself first.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Dominic Deron. I am one of the two CEOs of the VecCTor company. The other CEO is, of course, my father, who founded the company. And while he is mainly responsible for our strategic direction, I am responsible for our day-to-day operations, strategic partnerships, customer management, and all of these good stuffs. And of course, as it is a family company, in due time, it will be my turn to take over the ship wholly. Yeah, maybe Thorsten can also say a few words about yourself, and then we will start, of course, into the presentation. Many thanks, of course, also to our colleagues from Distilogix who arranged this webinar. We are very happy with their support and the fruitful discussions we have had so far, and we are looking very much forward to the continued partnership.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Thorsten Möller. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for your attention and your time. And thank you, Maud, for arranging this webinar. It's much appreciated. I'm a security officer. I've been 10 years in the German Army in the area of reconnaissance and surveillance, and I'm a certified security officer. That is how I came to meet Bryce, our founder. And we looked 10 years for a possibility to work together. And finally, in 2014, when he founded VecCTor, we had in 2018, when he founded VecCTor, we had the opportunity to work together. So ever since, I'm working in the area of sales. I'm the head of sales for VecCTor, and we are working a lot in the Middle East and Africa, but also, of course, in Europe, which is our home market. For the webinar now, if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in and ask questions immediately so that we don't have to wait with the questions till the end. And Maud, if I may ask you to monitor the chat. If somebody writes a question in the chat, that you can take care of these questions, so it's possible for you either to lift a hand, to just jump in, or to write a question into the chat. Okay.
So me and my colleague Nadir will be stepping in and taking these questions from time to time.
I will take care of it.
Thank you very much. So I hope you can see my screen now.
I can see it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So VecCTor is in whole is a company, a software company. We are providing solutions in the area of data acquisition and data distribution, and all about, of course, of data security, which is always a part of it. VecCTor has been founded in December 2017. It's a spin-off of a former company. Most of VecCTor team have already been working for years together in the former company. And then we decided to go into new fields of digitization and data acquisition. And that was the reason why our founder, Brice, founded VecCTor. VecCTor is also a member of the C# group. It's a very famous and a very big software development company in Poland. That is where we have our capabilities for the customization of our software and for the software development for our customers. We have a pool of about 300 developers. We had a turnover in about 20 million euros last year and have finalized more than 100 successful projects by now. VecCTor has also been awarded several awards for digitization, like Digital Champion in Germany or Business Hero in Germany for our data hub Surgate, which I will introduce later. Our current markets are Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And the main industries we are working in is security and safety, especially in my case, because I'm coming from the area of security and safety, but also oil and gas, aviation and logistics, construction and healthcare. But this is a general term. We are not bound to any industry. If there's any industry which isn't mentioned by now, we have solutions which are not bound to any industry at all. This is our team. The main team. On the left, on the top, is Brice, our founder, then Dominic, my colleague, who is also in the chat, myself. Our technical chief is Norbert, who is not joining today because he's busy, and two of our shareholders who have tremendous experience already in founding and developing successful IT and software companies, not only in Europe, but also in Africa and the Middle East. This is a brief glance at some of our customers. I think some of them might be familiar to you, like SABIC or Saudi Aramco and Dubai Municipality, of course. Brinks is a big cash and transit company, as well as VecCTor, and Bruker is a market leader, German market leader in the production of hazard material detection systems. And Fraport, for example, is one of the world leaders in aviation, in airport management, airport operations. The solutions we are currently providing is our digital hub, Surgate, which is also, so to say, the core of all our other solutions, building on the data aggregation of Surgate. BIgate for business intelligence and business analytics. Then our cybersecurity circle, because all our solutions need to be very secure, because we're working a lot for critical infrastructure and governmental organizations. That is why we have to have a very strong focus on cybersecurity. DNA, our telematic and IoT platform with alarm management, as well as ISEC Fleet, our 360-degree logistics security solutions for all kind of special logistics, and then smart merging for the digitization of all kind of paperworks with biometric signature and the document management system, as well as a business process management to digitize all administrational procedures. Some of our projects we've done, for example, in KSA, we did an IoT and alarm management. We built an IoT and alarm management platform in the oil and gas industry, as well as we did route optimization and staff monitoring for oil and gas. In the UAE, we did data integration and crisis and incident management. We built a home arrest solution for the government, and we provided fleet management and driver monitoring for the UAE governmental agency, as well as an IT monitoring and remote operation system. And in Qatar, for example, we have asset management for real estate, IoT management, and smart city solutions. In Africa, for example, we have pipeline monitoring solutions for Nigeria, workforce management in Nigeria, and anti-theft fuel management in the Democratic Republic of Congo, communication and telematics system in Senegal for a government agency, and an integrated CI4 control center optimization in Sierra Leone. And our home market is the so-called DACH region, Switzerland, Germany, and Austria, with a lot of cash and transit management. We have a TAPA level 1 certified remote operation system for cash and transit and for other container systems. We have charging infrastructure management for e-vehicles and aviation process optimization for big international airports, as well as ARCAS and big data management in Germany. The top cybersecurity threats we're facing at the moment are, for example, social engineering, but also third-party exposure, so that not only our own solutions, but also the solutions our partner have or our customers already have has to be taken into account. The configuration has to be done very carefully. It's very important to have a good cyber hygiene, so that you not only rely on that you set up a very successful system, but it has to be monitored and has to be increased. Cloud vulnerabilities, that is why we usually work with cloud providers who have the capabilities to guarantee the security. But a very important part is also mobile device vulnerabilities, Internet of Things, where we get all the data which are in our solutions. The IoT data is a very important thing. Then poor data management, which comes with the IoT data, and in many cases also inadequate post-attack procedures. Cybersecurity experts have been asked which are the major pain points they see, and the most important point was mobile device security, because in the current administration and the current businesses, everybody's working with mobile devices, laptops, iPads, smartphones, and so on. And the security of these devices is very, very important, as well as the user behavior. These 2 points go together and are one of the main focus, and that is something we are also focusing on, that we guarantee the mobile device security, but also, of course, the security awareness training, vulnerability management are very important. But the focus on mobile devices and the user behavior is one of our focuses too. This is an overview of the experiences of companies. So there are more than 200 companies in Europe have been asked what kind of experience they have with cyber threats, and as you can see, it's almost 85 or 86% have had successful phishing attacks. So there comes the user behavior, because the phishing attack can only work if the user makes the mistakes. Malicious browser ad served about 70%, and also 69% had unsocialized crypto mining experiences. So this shows that it's not a minority of the companies who experience cyber threat, but it's the majority, and it's increasing, especially with the development in for example, in Russia and China, and also in the Middle East. We have more and more cyber threats and more challenges we have to face. The biggest challenges in big data management are the data security and privacy. We have very strict rules in Europe, but we can also adopt our system to the local rules in countries in Africa, Asia, Middle East. So we can guarantee the data privacy and the data security, which is demanded by our customer. Data transmission and distribution is very important. We always provide secure data transmission so that there's no security breach possible there. The data exchange, especially between in an organization between different systems, different standalone solutions, which we erase, then to find out which are the relevant data analytics, and what we can learn by the data. To erase isolated and standalone solutions, we created our service gateway, which will be introduced by Dominic shortly, and to form a homogeneous protocols and languages. Usually we have heterogeneous protocols and languages, and the sheer amount of data and the scalability is a challenge we have to face, and that is why we rely usually on cloud-based services and cloud services, which can be scaled up very easily. So now my colleague Dominic will take over.
Yep, next slide, please. Of course. So Thorsten outlined some of the very rough scope problems we are facing in the field of digitization and in general with our solutions, or in general, every solution out in the field is facing. So where we came from when we developed this 360-degree cybersecurity circle, or the 360-degree CSC, is that we came from an operational perspective where we deployed IoT solutions, mostly in a in a physical security context, but also in general operation optimization. We will show some use cases of that later on. And we were faced with the cybersecurity problem as basically an afterthought. So when we were asked what kind of cybersecurity do you provide, we always informed our customers to the guidelines we were sticking to. But the physical cybersecurity, the customer had to always take care of himself. So we noticed that there was always a gap between physical security and cybersecurity, because they were treated differently, even though they faced the same challenges, even though in different domains. And what we then decided to do is found this cybersecurity circle, and you have an excerpt here of some of the partners we have involved in this. Of course, Distilogix as our distribution and resale support partner for your region. TuxGuard, this is a German partner we are working with together mainly for the firewall hardware and some cybersecurity solutions. Another partner of ours is the company ResGuard, which allows you to basically do compliance as a service. So you have an online solution where you can check your cybersecurity stance against the required ISO norms and other norms, as well as the company OneKey, which provides a tool to check the device firmware of your device, be it routers or IoT devices out in the field, if they have known vulnerabilities in attack vectors, as well as threat detection on the firmware which is deployed. And of course, last but not least, our own solution, the glue which keeps all of these components together, is our operational IoT platform, which on one side allows you operational IoT use cases, be they in physical security, optimization, logistics. As I said, I will show some use cases later on, as well as at the same time keeping a full 360-degree vision on your cybersecurity stance as well. Because one should not be treated different than the other. Both of them need to be in your field of vision. You need to be aware of where you need to act and what you need to do to keep your infrastructure and your operations safe. Next slide, please. So here's some of the components which entail this 360-degree vision. We have the ICM defense firmware, as well as Groupio's email security, and the Aimstrong hardware supplied by TuxGuard, or one of our partners. And all of these solution pieces are then, of course, connected to our backend again. So we deploy all of these solution pieces as necessary for the customer. Very important to remember for that. One of our guidelines is always to enhance, never to replace. What does that mean? We only enhance existing solutions if necessary, and only replace solutions at the customers if he sees a lack of capability there, where we can come in and enhance, of course, his operations. So we honor the already existing investment the customer has. And that is also allowed by our open-end back-end CertGate. So that stands for Service Gateway, which is basically an API gateway with some other functionalities to integrate data in a secure way, and allows us to integrate all of these components together. So we have a homogeneous overview of all components of our digital infrastructure. Again, hammering it down again, that is what we need to achieve, because at the moment we have standalone solution, we have island solutions, we have separation in responsibilities, and these lead to delayed responses, to open attack vectors which are not visible to the companies, and that is a risk which a company which is aiming to digitize, or an organization which is aiming to digitize, which is an absolute necessity at this point in time, simply cannot take anymore. Prior, in the olden times, maybe it was a physical an actual hacker who tried to attack your infrastructure, but in the meantime that is hugely automated. So even if you say, okay, I'm not a target, I'm a small company, I don't need to be afraid of getting hacked, that is not the case anymore. The attack vectors are coming in even faster and even more automated. So even you can even get attacked if you are simply not a target, but you have a similar infrastructure, for example, to some other company. You are basically in the same network. It doesn't matter anymore. So you cannot work analog anymore. You have to work digitally. It is a necessity, but you also have to be sure that you keep a stance which allows you to protect you physically and digitally at the same time. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, and another component of that is, of course, our private, the cloud solution we have built around CertGate, so which basically allows us to scale according to the customer requirements. If we have a small customer, we can do a smaller deployment, which might not even be necessary to be hosted on a cloud platform, can be hosted in a private cloud environment on their premises. But of course, we also offer the hosting of the whole solution in Microsoft Azure, mainly because we are primarily a Microsoft-focused company. And there we can ensure also the automated and 365, 40, 24/7 automated monitoring of all of your components of your digital infrastructure. The BRE, so the business rule engine, taking care of the automated responses to certain threats, and also displaying, of course, the data and all the needed data in dashboards. Next slide, please. Okay. So that's where we came from when we started operationally working. We came from a big data context, so we wanted to organize workflows, especially, as I mentioned, in security, but in general in operations for conglomerates. And this is one of the main fields where we started. As an example, the oil and gas management, where you have all of these different divisions and all of these different pieces of your organization which need to work with each other, need to exchange data with each other. And what you currently have is a lot of chaos. There is not at the time there was not really a lot of tools which allowed you to exchange data in a standardized way and integrate different data sets with each other. And that's what we aim to change. Next slide, please. And for that, we developed what I already mentioned, this CertGate data warehouse. So this is basically a backend, again, which allows you to integrate all of the different pieces of your organization, all of the different departments and responsibilities. So they all depend on one single source of truth. So one single access point where they can get all the necessary data they need for their operations. And the data they never had before is now accessible to them because it is all integrated in a singular point of truth. And on the bottom layer, we of course integrate all of the necessary tools to achieve that. For example, CCTV systems for physical security, and process optimization. We integrate mobile applications, Some of them we develop ourselves, some come from our partners, some are already deployed at the customers. And of course, one of our core expertises always is the deployment of IoT infrastructure. We have a lot of experience in that, from easy use cases, let's say that for simply tracking assets like trucks or other assets in mobile environments, as well as in warehouses, for example, up to very complicated use cases where we are monitoring oil and gas transportation, hazardous transportation, cash and transit vehicle, or automation in buildings. So we can integrate all of that data and display it in one screen to the customer. And then, of course, also the integration of security and safety information, in this case, cybersecurity information. Next slide, please. So that was a lot of theory. So how would an organization look if they would fully deploy Sergate as the core of their operations? So you would have all of these different divisions or these different parts. So for example, the security management, the physical security guards, but of course also your cybersecurity stance. So cybersecurity, general security technology, maybe needed interfaces to public safety, like police, fire department, and other services, as well, of course, as interfaces to your local government and your local law. So we would integrate all of these in a singular platform. We already have done that so that you can interface with everybody with the data they need for their day-to-day operations. Next slide, please. That was it from an operational point of view. How would this look from an organizational point of view? And here's an example of a structured, secure hybrid network topography. So here we have, of course, some of the components which are run locally. So we have, for example, a local information and IoT server running in an infrastructure like a power plant or a production facility, which processes data on site and then sends this data back to the cloud backend. What we also took care here when we designed the system is that we assume that we will have to cover critical infrastructure, and we are covering critical infrastructure. So we always designed the application in such a way that each of the nodes can act as a fail-safe and a fail-over location. Again, that is what Thorsten mentioned, that the post-threat stance sometimes of companies is lacking very much. So even if, for example, the central cloud system or any of the nodes in the system got taken out operationally, we would be able to run the whole infrastructure via the distributed nature of the system to the different nodes. Next slide, please.
There is a question from an anonymous attendee, if you may, Thorsten. It mentions that it goes like this. He says, I know you must be using IoT in monitoring pipeline and managed employees workflow, but in Nigeria, with recent security reports in the country, there have been pipe vandalism and oil pipeline theft. There are also ghost workers in both public and private sector organizations. So can VecCTor access working can you access your system as working perfectly with all these incidents going on within Nigeria?
That is a very interesting question. Of course, in security, there's always the assumption that there is, or from an outsider's perspective, that there is absolute security. And absolute security is not possible. You can, of course, always put security regulations and security on top of each other, but you will never reach the 100% perfect security you actually aim for. Otherwise, you will basically prevent any kind of movement in your company. Nigeria, we know this problem. We are faced with this problem with the fact that on one side, there's a lot of, let's say, public or private interest in getting access to pipeline infrastructure, but there's also a problem with public safety officers not acting in a way as they should for their government, let's say diplomatically like that. No problem can be solved with the snap of a finger. It is a growing process, but the more information and the more insights you have into your processes, especially your pipeline and your monitored pipeline, the more educated decisions you can make, and the more unattractive you can make your specific pipeline infrastructure as a target. That is a trend we have noticed over the time, that the more unattractive and the better your responses become to such a theft, for example, the more people tend to avoid, for example, your specific pipeline infrastructure. And we also are aware that a lot of the pipeline infrastructure in Nigeria is very distributed. There's a lot of small pipelines even running through public and private housing. So there is a lot of problems there, yes, but we can at least support in a way which was not possible before in a centralized way.
Let me add something, because it's a question which does not refer only to pipeline monitoring, because pipeline monitoring can only guarantee you that you recognize some interruption, some damage, or something is wrong with the pipeline. The problem, for example, of ghost workers in public and private security organizations, that is nothing you can solve by pipeline monitoring. You have to go into these areas and have to do background checks and checks with on the job, and what all kind of other security measures, as well as the vandalism. I cannot prevent vandalism by pipeline monitoring. This can only be done by recognizing a pipeline, and then you have to react on the vandalism or on the disruption of the pipeline. You have to increase the entire monitoring by CCTV cameras, by drone flights or something, and then you have to have a QRF, a quick response force, who will be able to intervene once there is an incident. And only in the combination of all these different tools, you will be able to reduce, never to erase, but to reduce the amount of vandalization on pipelines, or the theft of oil and other stuff, whatever goes to the pipeline.
Okay,
yeah, so
I hope that answer helps, but in the interest of time, I would like to continue. I have some more things to say to that, but yeah, sadly we have to continue since we have a few more slides we have to go through, or want to go through. This is an example of a local infrastructure. So we have the connection of all of these different kind of IoT devices, be they via direct connection to the server, or for example, via a gateway, if they are in a distributed infrastructure. So for example, a building next door. So we have the central connection to the server, and then we have the monitoring again. One side, the operations, are all of these IoT devices working properly, planning, maintenance, and all that stuff. And then also, of course, the monitoring of the cybersecurity stance of these devices. Is everything in order? Is the firmware updated? Is the firewall protection still working, and stuff like that? Next slide, please. So here, as promised, we have some of the use cases where we already have deployed the solution in such a way. This is a use case of a fleet work and security force management solution, where you have a quick overview of your fleet. How is the status of the fleet? Is everything working as expected? Is everything on time? Or is there, for example, a physical alarm on a vehicle because the vehicle has been breached, or maybe there is a robbery? So that's touching the topic of the physical security, but the cybersecurity, of course, is also kept in the background and working on all of these devices. Next slide, please.
Okay, let me take over for a couple of slides. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So there's another use case in the area of smart logistics and integrated interaction. So starts, for example, with digital delivery nodes, so that you will be aware immediately once something is stored on a lorry, on a truck, and in which order stuff is loaded. You will be aware of the whereabouts of the truck. You can integrate the data into your planning tool, so that you can see whether the truck will arrive in time to cover the slot for unloading or loading, which is supposed to be. You can also integrate warehouses, not only what kind of stuff is stored in the warehouses, but also about the conditions of the warehouse, like temperature, humidity, gas, for example, if there's a gas leakage or anything at all. So all kind of sensor technology built in these warehouses, built in the truck, built in the facilities, can be monitored, all including CBRNE, that is chemical, biological, radioactive, nuclear, and explosive devices. Hazard materials can be detected. and integrate it so that you will have an immediate alert if there's some exposure of one of these hazard materials. You can integrate the entire perimeter security, CCTV, drone delivery, drone flights for monitoring for security reasons, and the entire logistics around a warehouse, around a logistic company can be integrated. And all these data will be provided in the alarm and the control and alarm center, so that you have a real-time overview about all ongoings. And you don't have to monitor everything, because the system monitors automatically, and you define the rules, what has to be done and who has to be informed once there is an alert, and then you will be only informed if there's an alert. So you don't have to monitor the running system, but only in case of an incident you will be aware of it. Another use case is AI camera integration, which we use, for example, in different use cases, but also in cash and transit or hazard material transportation. We are able to analyze the pictures with our AI model, the video screens, but we can also integrate further information from telematic data or data from the security applications built in the vehicle, or whatever kind of sensor technology can be monitored. They can be integrated and can be matched with the video resolution, and then you can make decisions, or you can get automated alerts, and yeah, so that you will not have to monitor every camera yourself, but you will have an alert once there's some incident happening. On a wider screen, for example, it's another use case for tactical operation management, where all the staff on ground will be equipped with a mobile device, which will allow us to monitor where the staff members are, what they are doing. They can use the mobile devices to give information to the command and control center. They can receive information. They can send all kinds of voice messages, video messages, pictures, and so on and so forth. And also the already mentioned IoT data, for example, of vehicles can be integrated. You can go on, you can see on the left side, you can see the column where you can have all the participants in the action on ground, the staff members, the cars, the vehicles, the equipment. You can go into every single asset and check the asset and the status of the asset. And of course, you have always the possibility to get automated alerts, which you define yourself. Then we have another use case is real-time crisis and incident management, where we use our IBIS concept, intra-vehicle information system concept. This is an application to provide information to the staff members on ground and to exchange data from the people on ground to the command and control center, and also from the command and control center to the staff members and the vehicles on ground, so that always the management has a real-time overview what's going on the ground, and can also distribute the viable information to the staff members, security or rescue units on the spot. What we also can integrate is drone missions, so that you can have real-time information via video drones, for example. The coordination of event planning, tactical documentation, and also process documentation, and can be integrated into the system. You can provide the images, the video images of the drones, either as a video or as a photo, to your staff members on ground working in the incident, so that they can, for example, if they approach a hazardous area, they will have an overview of what's going on there, how many casualties are there, what kind of perpetrators might be on ground, or what kind of incident happened there, so that they have much more information arriving on the spot than without the integrated drone visions. Use cases 7 is for airfield operations, what we do a lot in the aviation area, where you can monitor all the people who are working at an airport, no matter whether in a security or operational areas. You can monitor all assets and the status of the asset, not only the whereabouts, but also the status of the asset, if a car has to be refilled or recharged, how much refueling some aircraft might need, if there's some aircraft vehicle or some machinery which needs repair or maintenance, even as installations, you can monitor that and can document that all in a digital way. And even in the case of an incident, all the staff members on ground for rescue operations and security operations will be connected to the system so that you know where they are. You can also integrate the most important like heart rate, like temperature, like breathing, and so the viable information about your staff members. If you have a sensor technology which will take that by an ankle or by an wrist watch or something like that. So all these data can be integrated, that you have an overview about casualties, about damages, and everything which happens within this incident. Okay, Dominic?
Yep. So this is another example of one of the digitization tools we are deploying with our customers. This, of course, is the tool called Smart Merging. I'm not going through the whole slide. Don't worry. There's just some examples of the things which you are able to do. So basically, you're able to remove paperwork from your processes. We are able to digitize any kind of paper form you throw our way. We are able to digitize them in a way that they still stick to local regulations and local requirements, for example, from your government. And we are able to then integrate this data in your necessary systems, for example, your customer success management or your enterprise resource management. And we are also able to automate workflows around these documents. So, for example, these could be security related workflows, inspections, maintenance protocols, entrance or access control documentation, but it can of course also be your general operations, delivery notes, and any kind of information like that which is needed. Next slide, please. Okay. Yeah, these are some of the examples of the IoT hardware we are deploying in, let's say, in a mobile environment. So here we have the devices which are mainly used for trucks and containers. So we have, for example, devices which can be mounted on containers with solar panels. We have devices which can be mounted on the inside of containers, monitoring the temperature for transportation of cooled goods. We have devices for tracking containers even overseas, and securing containers with digital locks, which can only be unlocked with an according mobile application. And we have, for example, fuel caps which prevent or alarm about the theft of fuel, and some devices for the communication with your drivers and sending navigation and tasks to your drivers. Of course, all of these devices are not manufactured by us. These are simply devices for some of our partners, which we have integrated in our overall workflow. And at the moment, we have integrated around 500 of these different kind of devices in our system. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is another example of these digital container operations. So here we showcase that we always choose the hardware according to the requirement which exists on ground. For example, if we need a full tracking of the container over ship transportation over the whole time, for example, from China to Europe, we can equip the container with a device which offers satellite and GSM communication. If it's more of a short range transport, for example, inside of the country, we can offer GSM and NB-IoT devices, of course, depending on the infrastructure which is available in your country. And we also equip the sensors on these IoT devices according to your requirements. If you, for example, want to monitor a cooling chain, we can provide that in a secured environment. Next slide, please. So this is an example of a whole government operation which got connected to the system. So we have on the left side all of the different kind of security technology, be it, for example, access control like metal and X-ray backscatter scanners, CBRNE devices, so devices for the detection of chemicals, biological material, and other dangerous materials, so to speak. And perimeter security like CCTV, drones, intrusion detection, and fencing. And all of these are connected to your central command and control system. And there we have then an overview of the current cybersecurity stance of your whole infrastructure, as well as of the physical security. Is everything working accordingly? Do you maybe need to do a maintenance on some of your devices, and so on and so forth? Next slide, please. And that is what we enable a government to do here. This has not been rolled out countrywide yet, but for example, has been rolled out in the city of Hamburg in such a way. So we have a central command and control system where all of the different forces of the public safety department are connected to, so fire department, police department, search and rescue operations, as well as, for example, external services like VIP protection. They are all connected to the central system and all managed in a central kind of way. And we are able to also then connect, for example, industrial players to that. So we have a general overview of the whole health status of our country, state, or city level. Next slide, please. So now we are reaching the end of the presentation. Don't worry. Now we are reaching a part where we talk about technology. So the glue keeping all of these components together and which enables us to deploy all of these systems, of course, is the Surrogate system, as I mentioned. And this system is able to connect all of these different kind of data sets from the outside and then transform it in such a way that it is usable for us, either via Surrogate, so that is the process data platform where we automate workflows, we monitor live operations, we automate responses, for example, to certain threats, or via BI-Gate, where we have business intelligence, so we can see inside of our operations, we can see, for example, where there is a lack of resources, where is a process which takes too much time or is inefficient, and that is enabled via the BI-Gate solution. Again, this can either be deployed in a public cloud, a private cloud, or even on-premise with the customer. Next slide, please. This is another one of the technical tools we use to enable our whole deployments. This is the technology from our partner TuxGuard. So here we have some of the gateways we can deploy. And as you can see here, they range from very small local devices, which you could, for example, deploy in your home office of your employees or on a local workstation, up to server racks, which can be deployed in whole server solutions. They are equipped with a multitude of open source and other proprietary software, allowing, for example, secure email exchange, detection of anomalies, detection of threats, of course, virus scans. All of the 9 yards in cybersecurity are covered by this solution, and of course by other solutions of our partners. Next slide, please. Yes, and this is maybe another example overview of how technically such a deployed IoT infrastructure could look. So we have all of the different IoT components coming in, being monitored by the Surrogate if they are working properly and are properly connected to the appropriate cybersecurity solutions, if everything is working correctly, VPN is working correctly, firewall is working correctly. And then we display this either in the solutions the customer already has deployed, his ERP, his Microsoft, his Oracle. We offer our own suite of tools, of course, for example, like flexibly configurable dashboards, which then also allow the customer to individually configure what kind of parameters and what kind of information he wants to display. And that can, of course, also be all changed on the fly. And next slide, please. Yeah, here we have some general advantages. Don't worry, we're reaching the end of our presentation. Some general advantages of digitization. I think I'm mostly not telling you anything new, but just to reiterate, we can reach real-time information, and only if we have real-time information, we can make educated decisions. We can enhance transparency in our processes, which was not possible prior, for example, as mentioned in this pipeline monitoring in Nigeria. And we can make educated decisions, because only if I have all the necessary relevant information for my decision to make, only then can I make the correct decision, which also allows us in turn, of course, to enhance efficiency, reduce costs, and minimize reaction times, which of course, especially in a security, in a cybersecurity environment, are key and are basically money, so to speak. And we are able to live visualize relevant information to us. We can reduce impacts of such a threat and speed up the recovery of such a cybersecurity or a physical attack on our infrastructure. And we can, of course, then in turn increase the predictability for the future, increase our sustainability, and optimize the adaptability of our organization. Next slide, please. And why VecCTor? Why us? So as this is the last slide in our presentation, and we are unique in a multitude of ways, but some of them are the key parts, which are that we are basically not tied to any specific vendor. So we work with a multitude of different partners. All of these different kinds of solutions I showed you, we didn't develop ourselves. That would be insane. And would probably cover a budget of multiple billions. We are working with qualified partners, with partners whom we trust, with whom we have worked for a long time to establish these tools, and they gain additional values. These tools, these hardwares, these IoT devices gain additional value and additional functionality by being integrated in such a centralized way into our solution, into our dashboards. That's our core capability. So we are neutral. We are not preferring any kind of ecosystem. We are open to any kind of industry. And we also offer our customers 100% data sovereignty. So we are never creating a black box. They always get access to all of their data, and they're able to integrate this data or their existing infrastructure into the whole workflow. Of course, this is all fully scalable. We are built on state-of-the-art technology. As we have developed this technology from the ground up, and we are also preventing vendor lock-in, because every piece of our core capability is built on either open source technology we are deploying or on technology we have built ourselves. So to prevent, for example, Microsoft is switching off a specific server because it doesn't give them enough revenue. That is an example which has happened to partners of ours. And for that reason, we have, for example, not integrated the Microsoft Azure IoT stack, which would have saved us a huge amount of money by doing so, because we would have used a proprietary software and wouldn't have to develop this IoT capability ourselves. But then we would be tied to Microsoft, and that we didn't want. We are Microsoft partners. We are working with Microsoft, but we also want to give our customers and our partners the capability to deploy, for example, in Amazon, to deploy in Google, to deploy locally. And that is the reason why we work in such a way. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. That's the last slide, or not maybe the last slide. The last slide should be, of course, Thorsten, please.
One thing you didn't mention, the total independence, which I think...
Yeah, the total independence. We also offer the full stack of our technology up to enterprise customers, so they can buy even the full technology stack, so they can even stay independent of VecCTor for the long run.
And we offer the source codes and the full documentation so that they will be able to continue developing the system by themselves if they want to.
Exactly.
Last slide. If you have any questions, of course, we're now answering your questions, but later, please contact Maud. You probably have all his contact details so that we can get in touch via Maud and can have separate meetings. If you have a certain project or a certain problem, we can discuss and how we can solve it, or what kind of solution might be suitable for the problem at hand, yeah, Mode is our trusted partner, and we're happy to work with Mode. And thanks again, Mode, for organizing this webinar and enabling us to introduce our solutions to your network.
Thank you so much, guys. Honestly, I enjoyed going through the presentation with you because you took us like through a journey of understanding of what you do, and especially the use cases, they were impressive. And I really want to also encourage our participants today and our resellers. I want to feel the heat from your side. I want to hear, where do you see these use cases? Because I do believe this is a huge thing and it's going to grow big in our region. I'll give you examples why, and I'll start with the latest statement I've seen, which is having VecCTor as your digitization champion. And digitization, or going through a digital transformation, has so many meanings. I'll just simplify it in the context we heard now. It's where you bring people, data, technology, and processes all together. That's what the simplest definition in my opinion. So what I've seen VecCTor doing is that they help you digitize. And what they help you digitize through their ecosystem of IoTs, so they can give you digital twins, they can give you sensors. You think of millions of use cases of that. That could be a sensor on a truck that is moving, that detects speed or detects the fuel consumption or detects watches if that the driver is falling asleep or not. It could be on top of a ship. It could be on the top of a container. It could be within a factory detecting vibration or heat, or all of these digital IoT elements plus digital twins, where we bring our real life into digital format. That's something that VecCTor does help you achieve. But that's not digitization only, because digitization is more than that. And what they did is that they brought the process management and the automation on top of that, because processes and automation is a huge part of it. And perfectly, they got that service gate or SerGate as a messaging hub, as a mediator that brings everything together so that you get real-time data. That real-time data could be from a remote construction site with thousands of workers, or could be from a ship that could be sailing in the middle of the Atlantic. Anywhere, you get that real data, and in a data lake, presented to you in a way that helps you make correct decisions and be efficient in your operation. So digitization journey with VecCTor goes up, starting from the telematics and hardware through their ecosystem, process management and automation, central hub of services that glues everything. I like what Dominic said, that glues everything together with their BI capabilities, so that you have impressive real-time reporting for the sake of decision making, or for operation excellence, or KPIs, or error correction, or whatever, or crisis management. You think of million use cases, guys, around it. So they took it this way, and lovely, because we come from IT background, they lovely wrapped it up in a beautiful IT-like format. Forms instead of papers, digital twins, cybersecurity rounding all of that, secure communication between a drone that could be flying on top of a jungle, all the way sending data and images and video back to the central location that manages it, and you don't want someone to intercept that. And so wrapped it up with IT-like reporting and forms, cybersecurity communication and data protection and all of that. It's a full digitization journey that represents everything we learned about digital transformation, starting from the physical layer, going to processes, going to ease of use for people, going to digital twins, going to messaging hub, and going to cybersecurity, wrapping all of that. So that's what digital transformation is about in simple terminology. You can talk for hours about digital transformation. I loved it, guys. I want really our partners, guys, in the region. We have partners from the Gulf all the way to Nigeria, and from Turkey all the way to South Africa. So, guys, you're here. I really want to hear the heat. If you want to think about it, think about use cases. Talk to your utility customers. Talk to your large, huge construction companies. Talk to your huge hospitals. Talk to your government that worries about border control and safety of pipelines and safety of citizens and crime prevention. Talk to your huge manufacturing utilities about their efficiency and security and all of that. Let's get the heat. I want to see where and how it could be positioned in front of customers for great business and a great value to the customer themselves. It's not only business to us, it's also great value to the customers that they get from their huge ecosystem that VecCTor had. And I love how the guys started by saying, we approach you not by full replacement, by building on top of what you have. So if you have a huge manufacturing utility that already has IoT from different manufacturers, that already has their sensors and their processes and different scattered systems, VecCTor will sit on top of all of that to glue them all together. And they will only replace what the customer has if the functionality cannot be achieved. So if there is a way to get the function, the outcome we're looking for, they will glue it and they will get that. And you can imagine how much that is great to customers for cost saving, for operational expenses reduction, capital expenditure, and all of that. The peace of mind they get. I don't want every huge utility today, they do have some kind of telematics and they do have some kind of IoT taking data and throwing them in a lake. We sit on top of that, we glue them, and we get you the best out of that data lake. We get it to you through VIs and through the messaging hub. So I encourage you big time, either to participate today, or if you still want to digest more. I know it's a new topic to all of us, but if you want to digest a bit and then talk to customers, and let's meet again on one-on-one discussions with VecCTor team. We get the customers, we hear the story and the use case, they get the answers from VecCTor. That's really the main objective of today's webinar for me. I know people want to learn. I love learning about VecCTor a lot, but I wanted to feel the heat of the market. I really encourage you to talk to your customers and to your peers, explore the use cases, and those use cases could be millions. Explore use cases. VecCTor will get that use case so customized to your customers so that they get the best of the best of the best of their digital environment. And they get the best of the best of the best of their existing investment in whatever system they have used. So please, I encourage you to do so. I can't think of million use cases, but I want to hear from you. If you want to participate today, I'll be happy. If you want to do more, like you spend time with your customers and come back to us on one-on-one discussions and demonstrations. The guys are very supportive, so they're happy to do lots of those one-on-one discussions with customers, explore the customer need and see how we can map what VecCTor can do. And at Distilogix, we're happy to support you. I have lots of my team members or my colleagues together today. We have 5 Distilogix representatives today in the webinar. You can reach to us. We have French-speaking people, English-speaking people, Arabic-speaking people, people from like security background, law enforcement background, telecom background, and different business development angles. Come back to us. You've got our contacts. We'll be happy to serve you. That's what I wanted to conclude with. Dominique, if you want to add anything to this, I hope I wrapped it.
The only thing I want to add is next time I'm leaving the presentation to you.
Oh, that's awesome. Good. You're a good teacher. You taught me well today, man. Yeah. It was a really very difficult topic for me, but you really took us through you in person. You took us through a nice journey of learning. And I cannot imagine the number of use cases that we can use and deploy. Every use case will turn into outcome, and every outcome will turn into business opportunity that we will all benefit from, and the customers will enjoy the value from this technology.
Yep.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Okay, so if you don't have any questions, we can wrap up the webinar. Let's see if there's any questions here in the chat. Nadir, is there any questions in the chat that we missed?
I think everybody's still kind of in a state of shock right now. We're gonna have
learning,
to give them some time. So
absorbing and learning. That's okay.
Too
with
much
us. No
utility,
issues.
so little time. So
No issues, no issues. Take your time, guys. Digest it. Let's test the water with customers and see how this goes. We'll be happy to support you. Thank you so much, guys, at VecCTor, Dominic and Thorsten, and I think Yassine. We have all. Thank you for supporting our region, spending this time with us, educating us about this great technology. And thanks to every single person from the audience. You are the essence of today's webinar. It wouldn't be as beautiful as it is without you guys. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you and working with you on use cases and enjoying success story. It is for today. Thank you so much all, and enjoy your day.